Hello students, in this video I would be discussing a very relevant and important chapter, Saving the Gharyal. The chapter is written by Janki Lennon, wife of Renulus Whitaker. He has been involved in Gharyal conservation, and it was his experiences and true facts that have been recorded by his wife in form of an article. He is also a very well-known Indian herpetologist, wildlife conservationist, and founder of the Madras Snake Park, the Andaman and Nicobar Environment Trust, and the Madras Crocodile Bank Trust. To understand this chapter, Saving the Gharyal, we should first understand the importance of rich biodiversity in our planet and how all of us are interdependent on each other for survival. As responsible human beings, we should make efforts to maintain the delicate balance in nature. Einstein's quote emphasizes this very fact. The quote reads, "If the bee disappeared off the surface of the globe, then man would only have 4 years of life left. No more bees, no more pollination, no more plants, no more animals, no more man." There are many animals too on the verge of extinction, like polar bears, vultures, sparrows, and if they get extinct, the day is not far off when we too would get extinct. The chapter which we are doing today, Saving the Gharyal, is actually an article written by Janki Lennon, and this article is actually Whitaker's account of his attempts to save Gharyal and its natural habitat. Janki Lennon writes about wildlife science and conservation practice in India. She is a full-time freelance journalist and runs a publishing company called Draco Books. She is the author of My Husband and Other Animals Too. The Wildlife Adventure Continues, My Husband and Other Animals, and A King Cobra's Summer. The purpose of documenting personal experience in the article is to persuade the readers about our role in saving the Gharyal, because the presence of Gharyal proves that the river is healthy. The writer states that saving the Gharyal has to be a part of a larger project, that of saving the rivers that are threatened by urban development, pollution, and climate change. The sun blazed overhead. It was midday and we had been walking for hours. I wanted to believe that the wisp of blue in the distance was the river Padma, our destination, but I worried it was a mirage. The river is the official boundary between India and Bangladesh and has changed its course so many times. I feared it might have vanished altogether. Finally, a ribbon of cobalt swam into view. We reached the high bank, knees buckling with exhaustion, when in the water below us we saw a crocodile with a long snout. Was it a Gharyal or just another illusion? The reptile's body glistened in the sun. She seemed unafraid of us, and we guessed she was guarding eggs buried in the sandbank. Instantly revived, we dug until we found the nest while being watched carefully by its owner. We were hoping to rear her young safely in captivity and then release them, but she did not know that. Still, she did not attack us. So, these paragraph 1, 2, and 3 tell us that Whitaker with his team was looking for river Padma, and it was afternoon, and the sun was fierce. It was really very warm and it was afternoon time, and he was not able to find river Padma. However, he says that the wisp of blue in the distance was river Padma. A very thin strip of blue could be seen, but he thought that it was just his imagination and it was just an illusion. Okay, so the important thing here which has been said about river Padma is that river Padma has been described as a ribbon of cobalt. Okay, very thin, and which was not visible, and also it exhibits the fear that it may have vanished altogether. The writer says that the river Padma has changed its course so many times that he was afraid that the river might have vanished altogether. So we can see how writer was afraid about river getting vanished. Remember, children, river Padma is the official boundary between India and Bangladesh. The team members were really exhausted. It means they were so tired that their knees and legs could not hold them up, and the writer used the word knees buckling for that. So we know that they were very tired and their knees and legs could not hold them up. But as they sighted a gharial's body, they thought it was another illusion, for they could not believe that their mission has been successful. Mother Gharial was, guarding her eggs. Mother Gharial was guarding her eggs, and instantly revived. They were very tired. Team members were very tired, but then they got instantly revived, meaning they started feeling better and energetic at once. The members dug until they found the nest and took her eggs. They took her eggs to rear her young safely in captivity. In other words, they would take care of them until they are adults and then set them free in their natural habitat. And interestingly, Mother Gharial was not aggressive at all when they took her eggs, as she did not attack them. So now we already know that the writer creates an image of river Padma under threat of getting vanished. Initially, the narrator describes river Padma as a wispy blue line in the distance and later as a ribbon of cobalt blue. The description of mighty river bordering two countries as a thin strip tells us that the purpose of this personal essay is to showcase the danger of rivers disappearing altogether. The narrator thought that the sight of Gharial could be an illusion because the narrator was exhausted and could not believe that at last their expedition was crowned with success. Mother Gharial's behavior was strange because she was guarding her eggs but did not mind the team taking them, though she did not know that they were doing it for the good of her babies. That was in the mid-1980s. We didn't know it then, but this may have been the last time gharials nested in Bangladesh. So through this line we come to know that they are on the verge of getting extinct in the river Padma. The problem was that no one knew enough about this unusual crocodile to be able to help it. So there were few experts who have information on gharial conservation. This is what made me work as much as I could in gharial country, India, Bangladesh and Nepal. What sets the gharial apart from all other crocodilians is its usually long snout. Snout is the long nose and area around the mouth of some type of animals. So there is snout in gharial also. The slim jaws lined with sharp teeth are ideal for catching fish. Gharial feeds only on fish, but they have another function. When a male reaches adolescence at around age 12, a strange appendage begins. So children, what is appendage means? A body part or a body part or organ that is smaller and less important than the main part that it is attached to. So this is this is the ghara shaped thing, which which comes which grows on male gharial when it becomes adult. So we know crocodilians. The word crocodilians here means crocodilians are large predatory reptiles that include the crocodiles, alligators, caimans, and gharials. So this is the picture showing crocodilians, the variety that are included in crocodilians: gharial, alligator, crocodile. So in the paragraph which we just read, it shows that the author had an eye for details. The expedition for gharial conservation happened in the mid-1980s, and it may have been the last time that gharial laid eggs for breeding in Bangladesh. That is why the narrator wanted to work in the gharial territory along with river Padma in India, Nepal and Bangladesh, because at that time no one knew much about gharial to sort out their problems. And in the last paragraphs, which we just read, many facts and features about gharial have been included, and there are many features and details that are included in the next paragraphs too. And these details show how passionate and well informed Whitaker was about gharial and its conservation. So there is an appendage growing on the tip of his snout. So long nose. This is the ghara, the Hindi word for pot, which it resembles, and it completely covers and presses down on the nostrils. When the male breathes out forcefully, it produces a noise that carries across the water. The politest term I can come up with for this noise is buzz snort. It serves two purposes: to attract females and warn off rivals. We once heard the buzz snort in action near Rajghat on the Chambal River in northern India. We saw a big male gharial and heard his underwater territorial jaw clap. The gharial is the only crocodile to advertise its presence in this way underwater. Some biologists think this could be a method of stunning prey. Stunning prey means hitting the prey so that it gets unconscious, as well as making territory. Making territory means guarding the territory, guarding the place which belonged to one particular male, in which the mother gharial could prepare nest for her eggs. Though it was winter, a time when crocodiles bask on the sandbank to warm up, this male spent most of his time in the water, alert to any male who might try to take his position. So they guard their territory in a very efficient way. So in the last paragraph which we just read, it tells us about the buzz snort. Buzz snort is the term coined by the narrator referring to the ghara-like growth on the tip of the snout of a male gharial, as it produces a buzz noise when the male breathes out forcefully. It grows in an adolescent male at around the age of 12. The buzz snort serves two purposes: to attract females and warn off rivals. We just read that. The male gharial was very protective about its territory in water. It would fight aggressively if any other male tried to take his position, though most crocodiles warm themselves on sandbanks during winter. This adult male gharial stayed underwater, making the strange sound to protect his territory. Now, in these two paragraphs, 7 and 8, writer actually depicts and make us see how gharials fight to guard their territory. Fights between male gharial involves terrific display of prowess, means a very powerful display of power. The territory holder surges forward, moves forward, churning the water into froth with his tail. So if the other gharial is not frightened away, the two males then fight. Their slender snouts clash like swords in the air, though they seem too fragile for such violent action. Fragile means very weak, easily broken or damaged. Um, Indeed, you can often hear the crack of a tooth or bone hitting bone. Eventually, one gharial will prevail, one gharial will win, and the other will retreat, and the other will leave. After the males complete this stage, it is the females who go to war, battling over the best nest sites. Once the fights are over, a mother gharial makes a nest hole 40 or 50 centimeter deep with her hind feet, into which she lays about 50 large eggs. She then covers the nest, tossing sand over the area to hide her tracks from predators such as hyenas, jackals, and mongooses before returning to the river to keep watch from a distance. Students, the word froth means a mass of small white bubbles on top of a liquid. So the gharial would fight. Gharials would fight, and the river water became foamy, and there were bubbles, due to strong movements in water. So the writer has created visual images, visual images very nicely, as he says, churning the water into froth with his tail. Okay, so very nicely the author has depicted the incident which he himself has seen at his work site. As I have already told you, that the narrator make the description of the gharial's fight interesting by providing visual images through his words. He had created visual images of the frothy river and the snouts of the gharial clashing like daggers or swords. Many crocodilians are attentive parents, but little was known about how gharials care for their young until I observed a captive breeding population. One day, I noticed a mother begin to dig up her nest. As I got closer, I could hear her babies calling from beneath the sand, just as other young crocodiles do. It can take mother crocodiles hours to help their babies reach the water, as they cannot see exactly where the youngsters are. They often mistake rocks, eggshells, clod of dirt, and even baby turtles for their own young, and will tenderly carry them to the river. The female dug with her front feet until she flipped out a baby, which landed by her hind feet. She excavated the rest of the nest and then turned around and slid into the river. Her 36 babies followed, rather like ducklings. So, in the last paragraph which we just read, writer exhibited tender qualities of gharial, and it certainly evokes empathy in us as readers. The piece has been made interesting, as I have already told you, by interspersing facts with visual details about male gharials fighting for territorial right or attracting the females, and the female preparing places in the river to lay and hatch their eggs, and their parental concerns. The writer endears the baby gharials to us by comparing them to more familiar creatures like ducklings following their mother to a river. Gharials look scary and one would dread them, but the narrator has highlighted some very tender qualities in them. One can very well relate to their territorial behavior and the way they protect their youngsters. Further, by feeding only on fish, they exhibit that they are not aggressive like other crocodiles. Alerted by all the activity, the male stayed nearby. When he swam close, the babies climbed onto his head, transforming him from an aggressive fighter into a devoted parent. So see how, writer has told us that male gharials could be at one time the most frightening sight, when they could be the most frightening sight when we see them fighting, and at the other time they could be the most adorable sight, when they acted as a devoted parent. Both adults then guarded the youngsters in the wild. Their behavior is no doubt similar. Up to 100 years ago, the gharial's buzz not resonated. Resonated means echoed along the deep rivers of the northern Indian subcontinent. Not for the gharial, the still waters of ponds or lakes where other crocodiles thrive. This is a river dweller that eats only fish. So gharial could survive only in river. Rivers are clean and they are flowing. They cannot thrive in stagnant water like pond and lake. Unfortunately, the choice of habitat and diet has been the gharial's downfall. So, gharial's habitat is river which should be clean and flowing, and its diet include fish. So, these two aspects have led to the downfall in gharial's population. Its rivers are being dammed, which means that group of gharials are separated from each other and they are forced to live in rapidly shrinking habitats. So rivers, children, these days are getting dirty, and they are and many dams are being made, so the flow of the river has increased. So that is not that is not conducive for gharial's population, because dams have been created, so the force of water has increased and they are carried away to other places, which means that the group of gharials are separated from each other and they are forced to live in rapidly shrinking habitat. So the rivers are shrinking very fast, their habitat is shrinking very fast. After the last ice age, the gharials staked out about 20,000 square kilometers of river spanning from Pakistan to Myanmar. Today its domain is mere 200 square kilometer and gradually decreasing. You can imagine how rapidly its habitat is declining. To counter this decline and that of other Indian crocodilians, Project Crocodile was set up in 1974 by the Indian government with help from the UN. Throughout the 1970s and 1980s, we carried out surveys, behavioral studies, and captive breeding. We reared thousands of youngsters and released them in protected areas. Sadly, few of these crocodiles survived for long. but we didn't know why. So we come to know even the efforts, were not enough, because very few crocodiles survived, which were reared in captive breeding. For example, this beautiful Satokia Gorge in Orissa appears to have everything a gharial could want: fish, sandbanks, protection. Threats such as bamboo rafting and net fishing have been eliminated, yet only 2 of the 700 gharials released here in the past 3 decades have survived. When I visited the gorge during the monsoon in mid-July, I saw how small streams had become torrents, very strong and fast-moving streams of river. The river had eroded the bank and uprooted the trees. The released gharials were obviously being flushed down rivers, out of the protected areas, and even into the sea. One was seen on a beach, others in mangrove and ponds. Those that ended up in tributaries were caught in fishing nets. So, gharial conservation has to be taken seriously, and there are many challenges lying ahead. Okay, details about deep rivers that had spread across 20,000 square kilometers from Pakistan to Myanmar during the last ice age, dwindling to a mere 200 square kilometer and still decreasing, helps us to understand the narrator's panic, at the beginning of the chapter, that River Padma may have disappeared altogether. A report on the efforts of Project Crocodile to breed gharials in captivity and failing to save them focuses on fishermen who break rules without realizing the extent of the damage they have been wreaked. So what happens that gharial do not, gharial's mouth get tangled in the fishing net, and so they fail to catch fish, and they are devoid of their food, and they slowly meet their end. The narrator's arguments for saving the gharial are convincing. We can no longer expect them to thrive on their own. We must realize that their very survival depends on us and the measure we take to keep our rivers clean and flowing. So children, gharials would thrive only when our rivers are clean and flowing. And don't you think we, the human beings, would also thrive only when our rivers and water bodies are clean and our environment is clean? So let's move ahead. The author, however, ends the piece on an optimistic note. Whitaker is optimistic at the end of the text because he feels that the gharial is not in as much danger as it had been before. He acknowledged that their 30-year strategy of captive breeding had not done enough and the species still faced an uncertain future. However, he was hopeful because he thought that people seemed to be at last ready to do what it took to save the gharial. A healthy gharial population indicates a healthy river, and people are finally waking up to the need for preserving biodiversity and river ecosystem. So children, I hope you have understood the chapter well and your further doubts would be cleared in the online class. Thank you so much.